Welcome to the live stream. I am Keith. Thank you for joining me. Let me know if the audio is loud enough. It looks good, but it might be just a little bit low. So let me know. Welcome to the live stream. I am Keith again, Life Journey Production Studios. Been cleaning up in here, shampooed carpet yesterday after I vacuumed. Took just about everything out of here except for my desk, everything underneath the desk. All of the stuff in the back except for that shelf. Changed up what's on the shelf. Took even my little table back here out. So crazy last couple of days just cleaning up. Shot my wife's podcast after 14 months of us not doing more about birth, and we shot that on Saturday, actually 2 episodes. I'll start editing that tomorrow. So welcome. It is great to see you. Let's make an adjustment here in OBS, and we are going to be talking about some basics tonight. But let me get this chat rolling here and see who we have in the house here. People are joining us. It is great to see you guys, and let's just go get the mouse working here. So one of the things I wanted to say tonight is it is almost spring. So if you saw a little still image, I got a chance to take a walk. Actually been walking almost every day. I'll walk after the live stream tonight. We actually just switched our clocks again. So daylight savings time, so I can actually walk after the live stream now and not be in the dark. But it is great to be here tonight. But on that walk, I'm going to talk about that tonight, talk about a little bit of life preparations, basics, and also live streaming basics. So life and live tonight. We're also going to look at some basic settings in the ATEM Mini, firmware update in the Insta360 Link, and I'm pretty excited about that. We'll talk about what are the advantages of that, especially if you're going to use that as a tool for like live streaming or podcasting, whatever it might be. But okay, I think I can put chat on the air here. And if you have not subscribed, I do have subscribe only chat on. So all you got to do is subscribe, and then you can chat with us. It takes 1 minute. I do that obviously to cut down on the chatter and make sure that we're not getting anybody popping in that's just there to blow up the chat. But we welcome you. Hope you'll join us. If you're watching live, please hit the like button. I really appreciate it. But again, if you subscribe, that makes it a lot easier for us to be able to chat with you. Okay, so what is going on tonight with my mouse? Okay, let's take that down. I'll get control of the chat here in a second. Okay, so good to have you, Hank. Said he's looking forward to that. Obviously, Hank and I've talked back and forth kind of about daylight savings time, because I always put up my still image, and then in the notes when I'm on Facebook or Twitter, even on my website, I usually will advertise that we're on Pacific Standard Time. Obviously, if you change that for daylight savings times, it messes people up. And Hank is on the East Coast, so it's 3 hours later there. It's 4 o'clock now, 4:05, and out in the East Coast, where I actually lived for a while in Pennsylvania, it is later there. So we welcome you, Hank. It's good to have you. Glad you're excited about the live stream tonight. And yeah, we are going to get back to basics, and I don't think this will bore you guys tonight because it's going to be a good conversation. I like to kind of review the basics here on the channel every so often. That invites new people that want to learn. And we've been pretty advanced for a while, and I am going to do some basics on the ATEM Mini line and how to get the basics set up tonight. So probably go about an hour and a half, so be ready for that. Get your coffee and get ready to hang out with me. I got my coffee, what's left of it. So it's good to have you here. Also, Joe from Tech for Fun, it's good to have you. I saw this again. Thanks, Hank. It sounds like the audio is good. DJ Ware, it's good to see you. And that's it. So we don't have a big crowd tonight. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Scroll down here. And I do see TVJ here as well. So I'll pop that up. Daylight savings time, no S at the ends. Yeah, okay. So obviously typo. Appreciate that. So we will get that fixed. Tony actually reached out to me earlier today, said he'd see me tonight. So hopefully Tony will be joining us. Yeah, lighting is a little different, only because I turned off these lights. So these are my soft boxes, and that one's shining on the back of my head right now, so I didn't get a chance to turn it around the other way. So I did lower the lights. So a little bit different tonight. Still have the lights. Might be a little bright on me, but hopefully this will be good to go tonight. So, okay, so... So Joe and Tony are together. I'm not sure exactly what that means. I didn't think you guys lived in the same vicinity, but welcome tonight. Again, I would appreciate if you guys hit the like button. That will help the YouTube analytics and algorithm. Let's dive in tonight. I don't think I missed anybody. Give me a shout out if I did. Yeah, I am slimmer. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. Thank you for noticing that, Joe. And Jay is saying hi to everyone. Some of the rest of you said hi to everyone as well. And evidently there's a storm. And I heard recently that there was going to be a storm on the East Coast. And actually they said it was going to be on the West Coast as well. We've had some, but I haven't seen it recently in the Tri-Cities. And the Tri-Cities where I live is Richland, Pasco, Kennewick. And in reality, there's like 7 cities all within striking distance here in the area. And as they expand, they're getting closer and closer together. In fact, I live kind of out on the highway, and that highway will drop you down to Benton City, which is probably, I would say 10 miles away. And as things continue to move that way, and then I live in kind of a canyon. I'm at the head of the canyon, and you have to drop down in it. But you can go down that canyon. It's called Badger Canyon. It goes all the way around and kind of drops into Benton City. So there's been houses out there all along. But again, these cities are just getting closer and closer as they grow. And this area in the Northwest, and if you don't know this area, we don't have big pine trees and all that. If we do, we planted them in our yards. This is desert. It's the basin. Just down into Richland, down over the other side of the mountain into the valley would be the Columbia River and the Columbia River Basin. And so we really are very much desert climate, have lots of sun, gets very cold at night, can get very hot in the day, but that's where we are. So we welcome you tonight, and we're going to get started here in just a second. Let me make sure I got everything. Oh, well, so he's up visiting. Well, so hi, Tony. Hi, Joe. That's really cool. He said he will be in the chat here in just a few minutes. Yeah, no big deal. Joe, it's great to have you anytime. And I appreciate you guys. So again, tonight we want to talk about a couple topics. We are going to look at the update for the web camera, the Insta360 Link, which I use as my Skycam. And I can bring that on the air while we have chat on the air. So if I do this, then there you have the Skycam right there, and I can change locations. And one of the things that they updated tonight is kind of some of the quality of the 4K parts of this and zooming in, and we'll look at that update here in just a few minutes. But I want to talk about one other thing before we get started on that. And let me just make sure the chat is on here again. And DJ Ware says he knows our area back in the days where he was carrying an axe. Yeah, we have had lots of fires in the Northwest over, I don't know, the last 10, 20 years. Really bad 3 years ago, California fires all the way up into Oregon. And then a lot of fires kind of north of me. In fact, a couple summers we had smoke just pretty much over us most of the springtime, into the summer, and then again later. So we sure appreciate, shout out to every person that's a firefighter, because I tell you what, there's lots of property, millions and billions of dollars of property that has been saved over the years because guys like you out there swinging the hammer, and we really appreciate it. I'm sure that's what you meant, because you said a fire axe, so not a hammer. I apologize. So again, tonight we're going to talk about Insta360 update. But before we do that, I want to talk about some life decisions that I've made, because not only do I go live every week, I need to stay alive. So I'm going to be 62 in June. I've had sickness surrounding me, literally. Friends, family, my family, cancer all around me. And just lost an uncle to cancer, put him to rest last week on Wednesday, flew to Seattle. We talked about that, I believe. And so I'm back in the studio. When I was right around the time I took the trip over to Seattle, I kind of had a wake-up call. You know, my uncle and I are kind of very similar. He's always been my favorite uncle. And we're a lot alike. We think alike. He's the reason I went into sales. He was a large machine salesperson. In fact, one of his name for fame was he sold the Seattle area the giant cranes that they used to lift boats in and out of the water, and they were used originally for the waterfallies up there, which is hydroplane races. If you ever seen those, they're pretty cool. And so he was in sales. And so when I was younger and I was making a career change in my 30s, he said, you should go into sales. And so we had some conversations. I even took a trip over to see him. And again, I started a whole sales career over 20 some odd years in the RV business mainly, then did some content for the RV business. So took my sales skills and my online skills, as well as my video production and audio skills, and then used that to create a content job for an RV dealership, had 12 RV dealers. And so the influence of my uncle and his whole sickness, and they didn't really let us know. We found out about 4 weeks ago. We knew that something was up because he'd kind of gone dark, and my dad occasionally would tell me he had talked to him. My sister said she saw him over a year ago and he was doing really well. I had been in contact with my cousin, but I hadn't been talking recently to my aunt and uncle. And so all of a sudden, I get this phone call in the middle of my walk on Sunday. So I'd already started walking, trying to get my physical being back into shape. During the stress of this last 90 to 120 days back in the RV business, a lot of the other anxiety that was a part of that world that I hadn't been in for over 3 years came back on me. And of course, a lot of times we stress eat. So I just want to talk real quickly about the impact that whole sitting in front of my uncle had on me. It really, mortality is something that we all have to think about. Don't want to get deep and dark tonight. But obviously, when you're 62 and your mom lived till she's 56, your brother was gone before turning 40. My great-grandfather was gone before he was 56. So there's so many people in my family, nephews and all that are gone, and I'm still here. I'm blessed to have all my kids are still alive. My wife is alive, and I'm very blessed in that is all true. But again, I'm the oldest kind of in this family. There's my dad, and then there's me, then my little sister. My brother's already gone. My mom's gone. My dad's remarried, and my dad's health has been waning. He fought prostate cancer. I have a good friend of mine that fought it, and my uncle just passed away really from cancer. And my father-in-law passed away last year, not from cancer, but from Alzheimer's and some other issues that he had, a stroke. And so when you have all of this going on around you, it really makes you take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you in the kind of shape where you're going to beat those kind of things? And again, I can't stop those things, but I can focus on things that will help me. And so I also watched a Disney series with Chris Hemsworth that really kind of got to me. My son told me about it. We watched it together. He was staying with us for a few days just for him and I to hang out, reconnect, and lives right here in the Tri-Cities. But we said, hey, come on over. And so he really was here for 2 or 3 days. We watch his daughter all the time anyway. So it was just kind of a cool scenario where he and I could spend some more extended time. And as we were talking, he said, Dad, you got to watch this. And it really made an impact on my life. And so 3 things I'm trying to do right now. Let's talk about the first 2. first one is walk. I'd already started walking. 2, I'm trying to completely change my eating habits. I just want to eat healthier, cut out most all sugars out of my diet, and been doing that. So I'm actually shedding weight, as you guys can see. I'm down almost 3 belt holes, and I will do a before and after picture in one of these live streams. But I just say that to say that I'm making this decision because I want to live. My wife wants me to continue living, and so I'm trying to make decisions, eat healthier. She is as well. Even when we go out, we try to eat really healthy stuff. If I get a burger, I'm not getting fries. I do a salad. And again, I'm limiting out even some of the breads and things like that, only because I just want to begin to shed some of the weight. So I'm sleeping better now, and things are going a lot better. The other thing I'm trying to do when I walk, I'm trying to take that time that I'm walking to process things, to set plans. I'm practicing the breathing technique that I learned in my wife's podcast about 1.5 years ago. It just talked about how getting more oxygen into your body, breathing from down here, not this chest breathing, but breathing down here. I know about this because of being a part of the recording area, recording people, recording music. So breathing from here, getting air all the way in. Also, it was covered in that that series with Chris Hemsworth on Disney, that documentary. So I've been trying to practice that breathing when I go. And then I'm also looking for something that makes me smile, brings up a happy thought, rather than all of the things. And I'm trying to cut out a lot of things that are just negative. In fact, we've been inundated with just negativity. And so when I'm not in the studio working or editing or working with a client, when I have my free time or when I'm exercising, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I am trying to use that time and double down, use it for listening to a podcast, listening to a book on tape, just taking some quiet time, doing some breathing things, as well as walking. I'm up to about 2.75 miles. And again, a lot of that has to do with time. The last couple of times I got back, I wasn't really tired. I could have gone further, but I had things to do. So I'm going to be adding more walk. So again, 3 things. 1, I'm doing the walking thing. I'm trying to eat differently, healthier. And then 3, as I walk, I'm trying to find the positive things. So this week I found this, and I used it in my still image. Let me pop this up here real quick. Slideshow and me, and I'll drop that still image here. And you got the little picture of me right there. And that's my favorite tree. So one of the first times I walked, literally 3.5 years ago, I walked around this neighborhood because we're new to this neighborhood. I walked around this neighborhood, and there's 2 paths that converge. And as you converge, either way, you see this tree. If you're coming out the big path onto the outside path, which is it goes all the way around the outside of our development. So you got to go through a path between 2 houses, and you run right into this tree. And so this tree and I have kind of become friends. I've never been friends with a tree before. I have trees in my story, trees I've fallen out of, trees I used to climb, forts I've made in trees. We used to go up into trees in Pennsylvania with me and a bunch of buddies. It was all overgrown with vines, and we'd just sit up on top of treetops. It was really cool when I was younger. So I have some history with trees. Used to jump from tree to tree when I was younger, but this little bud on my tree got me excited because it says spring. So I have the little caption there saying, "Hi, buddy." And I've actually used that. I've written about it. I've talked about it to some of my friends, that something so tiny on that tree reminded me of spring. And I love springtime. I want to get my fountain going. And so it just became a happy thought, put a smile on my face. I've done this a number of times at that tree. I took a photograph, and that became a part of my still. So life for living and life for streaming, because if you're going to stream and your head's going to stay sharp and in the game and health-wise, and again, I've been streaming these last 4 or 5 weeks where I've had family members all the way around me not feeling good, sick. And I actually got a little scratchy throat yesterday afternoon. And so I just want to get lots of sleep, drinking lots of liquid. So I've cut out sweeteners. This is really water. This is like the 3rd week I think I've been live with just water. And I'm trying to hammer more water. I'm even trying during live streams to breathe differently just to keep myself relaxed. And again, just because I want to keep living, that tree is just one thing, one positive thing. So every day I'm trying to find some positive moment. If I can, I'm going to snap a picture with my smartphone because it's with me pretty much all the time. And that's the things I'm doing to live better, to stay alive, and hopefully continue to be here for my family. So, and I didn't want to really get deep, but again, I think some of the basics that we have to each do, especially those of you that may be even older than me, maybe some of you have made adjustments this last couple of years in your health, and I applaud you. And there's been people that I know from this channel that actually motivated me with their story, and I just decided to quit procrastinating. The last thing I've done, so I'll throw down one more, four, and that is I decided to quit making excuses for doing the things that I really feel like I need to do. So if that's sitting down and writing notes, or doing a video for my channel, or editing, or seeing a friend. Yesterday I went over to meet someone that I met when I was doing that 120 days. He was a private contractor, I'm a private contractor, and we just have a lot in common. So I made the time to go over to his business. He gave me a tour. He has a giant advertisement company, so he works with giant companies in the Tri-Cities and smaller companies and even companies around the United States. He's got a large staff, a whole facility. So I got a chance to walk his facility and continue that relationship. So how does that apply to live streaming? Well, because I do this channel about live streaming, obviously the better you feel, the more energized you feel. And so many of you said that was the most animated I was a few weeks ago. Well, I wonder why that is. My life in general, my wife has even noticed that my energy level is higher. I get a little bit more animated, so I'm trying to get more centered, trying to breathe better, because you have a tendency, you know, when you really get going and get feeling good, to go too hard or too long or too strong. And so I am trying to mellow that out. So yeah, I peaked right away within 2 or 3 weeks, and now I'm about 6 or 7 weeks in to this diet, 6 or 7 weeks into walking now, and then cutting a lot of things out of my life, like some of the crazy sweeteners, drinking diet pop, all of that stuff, and trying to drink water. And I'm even cutting down on coffee. This is my second cup today, and it's still half full. And I'm down to 2 cups of coffee a day as often as I can. And then the last thing I wanted to say is I am exercising too. So 3 days a week now, I have an exercising program I do right here in my house. And that is just to start toning up what's not being toned up from walking. I'm trying to tone up, as well as I've had some shoulder issues. So I'm really stretching and trying to take care of that. And I noticed that my sciatic nerves are getting even better because I've been stretching those out before I walk, and 3 times a week, really aggressively getting stretched out. So the basics. So let's go into the basics, but any comments about that before we flip over to the basics of live streaming? I want to touch base on some things. Then we're going to look at the Insta360 update. Then we're going to talk about the ATEM Mini line and how to do the basics to get it set up for your studio if you decide to go that way. But we're going to talk about some other basic ways to stream before that. But I do want to catch your comments to see if you have anything to say. Good to see you, Tony. Glad you made it. Yeah, so Tony says our life's parallel when it comes to health and family, longevity, or lack of it. Yeah, you know, the last thing in the world I would want, right, is all of a sudden a year from now not be here. I mean, some of you actually do this every week, and you join me every week. I have other people that watch these videos. I have clients that watch the videos, and I want to be here. So I appreciate that comment. Good to have you, David. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for that comment, Tony. I hope I'm feeling better. Yeah, so I am trying to use those techniques, and I lay on the floor and try to breathe down here. I'm a chest breather, always have been, and I'm a mouth breather when I'm sleeping, mainly because trying to get enough air in. So one of the things that I do when I'm walking is I practice breathing through my nose. So I have to kind of slow down my heart rate so I'm not gasping for air. but I have a pretty brisk pace when I brisk face. I have a brisk face and a brisk pace when I'm walking. I'm not just strolling. I'm really going at it because I want to work those muscles, and so I am feeling better. And I have cases of it in the back, but I'm not using it anymore. So I apologize for that. I'm not really a friend of a tree or a tree hugger. I did hug a stop sign once because that was kind of a story in a funeral that I went to. And one of the people I've known for years passed away last year, and her whole family was talking about how they used to jump out of a car and hug stop signs. And it was a big funny thing. It was like one of those deals where you stop in the middle of an intersection, you get out, hug a stop sign and go back, or a stop or a light pole. So anyway, but I haven't hugged that tree that I know of. I've only taken pictures by that tree. Good to see you. Thank you for joining me. So obviously, those of you that are regular, I really appreciate it. Please hit the like button tonight to help me with the algorithm, and maybe some more people will get on board here tonight. So any other comments about living to live stream? Those life choices. Are you making any life choices? I'd love to hear in the comments if you have been changing up your diet, or if you've been exercising. If you don't want to talk about it all because it makes you feel bad because you set some goals to do that and you haven't yet. Nothing I'm saying tonight is about trying to put that on you at all. I am only sharing with you that those life basics for me are going to help me be a better live streamer, a better YouTuber, as well as a production person. And when I did that Dallas shoot, it really hurt me. My back was messed up. I was carrying too much weight. I was using a gimbal all day long. And I did have a waist strap, but by the time those 2 days were over, my back was completely tweaked. So that motivated me as well. And that was back at the very end of January, first part of February. And so I'm going back to do another shoot, and I will be lean, mean fighting machine when that takes place, hopefully. That's hilarious. So Joe said he just worked out with Tony. I'm sorry, Tony. What did you do to the poor guy? So again, some of you that I've actually had a chance to be on with or Zoom with, some of you look like you're really in good shape, and I appreciate that. Again, I want to just make sure that I get my act together. Cool. It's good to hear, DJ. Change up my diet, do some similar to you, reduced as much of the sugar intake as I can. Yeah, I don't know. I don't talk a lot about the year or so we had quarantined, right? And what quarantined us. But I will say this. Once I had that flu, whatever it is, it affected my body. I still have some skin issues. I wasn't having any allergies since I was in my 30s. And after that, I've been having issues. And I noticed every time I would eat sugar or anything sweet, especially any kind of candy, my skin would break out almost immediately. You guys have seen me with bandages. I have bandages on my fingers in my most recent series on the Stream Deck Plus. And again, if you haven't watched that, that's a great series. I have another video coming out. Hopefully I'll get to editing that this week as things have slowed down around my world, not traveling to any funerals or anything like that, and not doing any private contracting right now in the RV business. So again, I made a commitment to 6 days a week in the gym for the last 14 months. Just have to go better about the healthy eating. Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to add next month, hopefully swimming again. I got to talk about this with my wife this week and see if she's interested in doing that. She is going through the diet thing as well. We both have shed some weight together. We're both feeling better. She's noticed that I'm snoring less, and I'm noticing that she's sleeping better. So that's great. He bench pressed me. That's crazy. Tony bench pressed Joe. That is classic. Wow, Tony, you're a beast. No, actually, Joe weighs what? 140, 145, 175. What do you weigh, Joe? You're not a big guy, so that should have been pretty easy for Tony, right? No confessions about weight tonight, I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears right now because I do want to do some of this. So we're going to go into slideshow setup here. Going to turn chat off the air. So again, streaming, and this slide is up here first. We'll come kind of back to that, but I do want to talk about microphones here in a minute. But the basics of streaming, right, is you got to have a camera, unless you're going to do a podcast. If you're gonna do a podcast, you could do it right from your phone. You could live stream from your phone. I have my iPhone here. Literally, these phones are replacing what a lot of people use when they're out traveling. I think if you go to, I'm trying to think, recently, David Osler on his channel had a video, and I think, David, am I correct that you mentioned that a lot of times you take your smartphone with you when you're traveling to do pictures? And you're a photographer like me. I mean, by heart, I'm probably a photographer first, maybe a little bit of, content from my phone type person, if I was to really compare those, because I'm probably equally passionate about content from a phone and what you can do with a phone. And I've even had microphones that hook up to your phone. I have stands to use my phone. We've talked more about that, but you can use a webcam from your computer. And if you're going to use a webcam from your computer, you're probably going to be streaming from, most likely, right? You're probably streaming from a Macintosh PC or something like that, but you can also stream from your phone. So the basics of live streaming is you just need to basically first, and I wrote some notes here, decide where you're going to stream. So if we go into my control software here real quickly, me and my laptop, and we'll forego that page here. Let's do this first. I want to open up my other Extreme ISO that doesn't have streaming keys and stuff on it, and bring us onto the air here so you guys can see it. So the first thing you're going to have to decide is where. So if you go into your output in your ATEM Mini, we're going to talk more about this later, then you can choose streaming locations. And as you update the control software over the last couple of years, you're getting more and more streaming locations. And I have two bridges down here. I only need one of those, but I was trying a couple different settings. But you can see all of these locations right now that you can stream. So you got to decide where you're going to stream, obviously, because where you stream is going to be crucial to what kind of tools you're going to use or how you're going to stream there. So again, obviously, if you're just going to go live, you can go live to Facebook from your smart device. You can go to a lot of places live right from your phone. I've did it for years when I was a content manager. I just had a microphone, a Rode Lav Plus microphone that plugged into the bottom of my phone. Sorry, I'm changing back to my other Extreme so I can actually control it here. So you have all of those locations that you can stream to, and then you have different tools that you can stream. So where are you going to live stream is probably the basic question that we all have to ask off at the very beginning. And then are you just going to use like your smartphone and then just use a clamp like this? So I've shared this picture before. I've been using these clamps for a long time. You can buy them here. It's by Joby, and it's a phone clamp. Now they have one with a cold shoe at the top, so you could hook a light up or you could hook a microphone on there. I was using a Lav Plus mic, and it was on a string. Now, obviously, I'm going to be using my DJI mic kit anytime I use my phone. In fact, I have this plugged in. I have one on, but this comes with a receiver and two transmitters. And again, audio becomes really important because you're not just doing video, you're doing audio. But even the microphones are getting better on smart devices, I think faster than cameras. So That's my personal opinion, so you can tell me if you agree with that or not. But again, having a way to mount your phone and then getting good audio. And then again, if you're live streaming, you're out there live streaming outdoors or in a building with great light, you can pretty well just use your smartphone, find a way to get good audio, either with something like the DJI kit. They have a single mic kit. There's other people that make like the Rode Wireless Go kits. There's lots of different ways. Samsung makes a wireless kit that I eyeballed for years, one that hooks on the back of your phone that has a lapel mic, and the other one with a regular traditional receiver, and another one with a handheld microphone. You could buy that Samsung kit either way. But again, having good audio is important as well. So basically understanding where you're going to stream and how you're going to stream, I mean, what you're going to use. But I also think with the technology changing, I really want to highly recommend that there's some really good webcams. So you have the Insta360 right here, and you also have the DJI or the Elgato face cam, and now there's a face cam pro. I don't have a picture for tonight up there, but you need to kind of figure those things out. And then obviously audio just goes up from there. So all the audio that's here in this video, which is here on my channel, these are regular traditional microphones. So you have the pod mic, which is Rode's mic. It's $100. Next to that, you have the Rode NTG3, and that microphone is probably $400 or so, maybe more. Next to that is another 400 and some, just a little bit less than that microphone. That's the Rode SM7B. And then right there in front of me is a pod mic. And then next to me is this microphone right there, the SM7B, all the way over. This is a dynamic microphone. The pod mic is a dynamic microphone. Then that Rode NTG3, that is a condenser microphone, and that needs phantom power. But all the other microphones you see here in this slide are all microphones that can be used for live streaming. Obviously, that long condenser microphone is more like a boom mic that would be overhead. So if you watch Aaron Parecki, there's a lot of other live streamers, you don't see their microphone. This is more of like a radio type setup right here, a podcast setup. They have the microphone off camera above their head, shooting down just like you would if you were running a boom pole. But again, you're going to get into more money if you go that direction, because now you're going to need something like an interface. Like I have the Rodecaster Pro 2. So first is, where are you going to live stream? I mean, where are you going to go? YouTube, Facebook? You may just want to do videos. What type of videos are you going to try to produce? Then once you decide where you're going to go, how are you going to do it? You're going to do it with your phone. You're going to do it with a USB cam. And again, there are some great USB cams, but you could just go your phone on a tripod. You could also hook this up to a light stand. I used light stands for 3 years to hook this Joby phone mount on it. And then it just clamps my phone into it, a landscape. So that I'm shooting, not portrait, but shooting landscape. Obviously, portrait's this way, landscape is this way, more like traditional movies. But again, not only do you need to decide where you're going to live stream, maybe the location in your house. Are you going to be mobile outside streaming? Remember, there was a lot of people that were doing like video blogs, and they were uploading them, and that's how they built their YouTube channels. Now they'll more use that kind of video blog style, holding a tripod in their hand, or one of those Joby adjustable leg things. I have one, but it's in the other room, so that they can talk to the camera as they're walking around and showing things, just holding the camera out in front of them. That way you're not trying to hold the camera out like a lot of people do for selfies. But not only is it going to be important, where you're going to live stream as far as location, but where you're going to live stream as far as at your home. And I don't think I've ever shared this picture before, but this is me setting up the desk right here. So that desk was in my bedroom, and I started live streaming in there using one softbox, using a DSLR and a cam link. And if you don't know what a cam link is, let me show you here. switch to this view. Sometimes I find these shortcuts and sometimes I can't. So this is the cam link right here. This is Elgato's page. And you can see you can hook a DSLR camera, HDMI out of it right into this and then into your computer. So you can stream from your computer using that. A lot of people are going to use OBS. So here you have OBS. It is free broadcast software. I use OBS every week. Not to live stream from, but to put the chat on the air, as well as my Insta360 Link camera as my Skycam. So these are important tools, and you can stream from OBS. I'm not going to talk a lot about OBS tonight, but literally your laptop or your PC will do all the encoding, all the streaming. You'll obviously have to be hooked up to the internet. It's better if you tether it directly, not wirelessly attach it. That's going to give you a better signal if you have good wireless signal in your house. And remember, you're going to be uploading when you're streaming, not downloading. So a lot of people buy a web package for their house or internet package for their house, and it has pretty big download. So you can watch movies and you can look at YouTube and all of those things, but it doesn't have a lot of bandwidth up. So right now I am streaming at 2.93. So evidently, my settings are lower than they're supposed to in the stream tonight, or maybe just by the size of my video, it dropped down. But again, you have to have at least 3 or 4 megabytes up to be able to do that. So keep that in mind. And this is going to be doing all the work. So you can stream from your camera, you can stream from a web camera, and there are some cameras out there I shared a few weeks ago that actually have the ability to stream directly from them. Like you can buy the DJI mobile mic, the mobile kit, and it actually can stream directly to the YouTube and things like that. The Mevo camera that was YouTube's official camera for a while, I've used that before. Now they have a 3-camera kit. There's just lots of ways, and obviously all of these are good ways. All of these can produce really good quality because, again, these web cameras have really stepped up their game from where they were in the past. But again, if you're going to use these traditional microphones, you may want to get something like a Rodecaster Pro, a Rodecaster Pro 2, which you see here on the screen. And then you may also have to worry about lighting. So this is the lighting in the back of the room, and it's on a Manfrotto auto pole. You could use traditional lighting. You could use a window with a sheer on it. You can see I have a sheer over those windows that are behind me in my live stream. But again, you're going to need some lighting as well. And I was in a Zoom call on Sunday afternoon with some friends that were recently met by one of my friends, and he wanted to introduce me to them. And we were going to just have kind of a Zoom call. I think there was 8 or 9 people on this Zoom call. And I never said anything about my setup. They all saw this. Let me just go back to me and the logo. I was sitting here just like this. I forgot to turn my logo off. And at the very end of that Zoom call, one of the people on that Zoom call says, Keith, I just want to say you have a really good light setup and you have a really good picture. And I said, thank you. I really didn't comment on it. It wasn't appropriate for that Zoom call, but everybody noticed. And when you're in a Zoom call and you have all these different windows on your screen of different people, my look stood out. Now, I wasn't trying to draw attention to myself. This is just where I do Zoom. And so because of this setup, because I invested and took the doors off in this room and went through the time and energy to build this desk in the corner, reinforce that rack above my head. I now have a desk in the corner. I have a packing blanket up for sound. And so again, I've invested a lot of effort and time into this, and I'm using traditional DSLR cameras. Just like, again, you would see right here, if we go back to the Camlink page, I'm using a traditional Camlink page. So DSLR plugged into a computer is the way I used to do it. I don't do it that way anymore. My DSLRs are plugged into my ATEM Mini Pro. And for those of you that may be watching this for the very first time, you have all of these choices from Blackmagic Design. You can see the prices. You can get an ATEM Mini Pro now that encodes and will record the program out, and you're seeing the program right now. So as I change cameras, obviously that's what you're going to be recording, and not every camera, but they also make an ISO model. So for $300, you have 4 inputs, you have encoding so you can stream from it out to the internet, and then you can hook up your laptop to one of the inputs, 3 cameras that inputs. So $295 is such a great deal. It makes it really, if you have a DSLR and you want to go that route, it makes it a lot less expensive than when I jumped in. And then you can see all the models, even these models on the bottom that were released just a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And those are the ATEM television studios, and they have streaming built into them, recording built into them, and you can also ISO record every single input. And then the Blackmagic Design ISO models make a folder with all the information in there, all the cameras, all the still images, all the cuts that you made, and then you can actually bring that into DaVinci Resolve and change where the cuts were, change what camera angles, because all of the cameras are recorded when you buy an ISO model. So they have ISO models in the little minis up there, the extremes, and then you also have these 2 new devices. And then there's other devices that Blackmagic makes. There's the YOLO box that you can stream from. If you don't know anything about the YOLO box, look it up. They have the YOLO box mini, they have YOLO box, they have YOLO box Pro. Aaron Parecki does a lot about the YOLO box on his channel. He even makes stands for all these devices that you can purchase all over the world that are were designed by him, are now being printed and sold by companies under there. But again, all of these things matter depending on how you're going to stream. So you don't have to spend a ton of money. If you already have a smartphone, you can go live from it and maybe just invest in a little bit better audio. This is the bag that holds in the DJI mic kit. So again, and they make a 2 version of this. They make a wireless Go 2 version. So good audio, good video, and then obviously doing something about your lighting. And I have clients all the time. I tell them, do you have a window where you do your Zoom calls, where you do your live? And they'll say, yeah, I do have a window. I tell them, I go, can you just get a white shim over it? If you live stream during the same part every day, then you can get decent light from a window, but it may be overcast one day. You might have to change your camera settings. So again, there are still some learning curves if you're going to use a window. I use the Elgato lights that come from Elgato because I can control them with my Stream Deck, and they stay the same brightness that I set them at all the time. Same color temperature all the time. So that's some basics. We'll take some questions here in a minute, but the other thing I wanted to say, you can go from your phone, you can go from a webcam, you could go from some device like that, a DSLR, you can stream software or hardware. And so there are other devices that Blackmagic Design makes, but the main devices people are using are the hardware that you see here on the screen. But you can, again, use OBS as a streaming solution. And remember, the investment when you go to use OBS, I'm just trying to find it right here. That's not it. And you can have Logitech cameras here as well. Where is OBS? Yeah, OBS, again, is freeware. So you can download it on your laptop for Mac, Linux, Windows, and you can use OBS, and it does a lot of things. It'll help you with graphics. You can do slideshows. And again, we'll dedicate a whole night to just talking about OBS here soon. I've been talking about it for weeks, but we will do that. So, and then who are you going to live stream to? I want to talk just for a few seconds about this. Who's your audience? Again, what are their interests in? I've been doing this mainly around live streaming tech, photography, videography. I did my post show where I brought in Ratso and other things like that so I could broaden my reach. But it was the same people pretty much watching both streams. So I want to do some more basic training in my post show. And that's why tonight we want to talk some basics about the ATEM Minis, because a lot of people have decided to go ahead and buy ATEM Mini Pro for $295 or a Extreme, ATEM Mini Extreme, to get more inputs and multi-view. So you can get multi-view out of the ATEM Mini Pro, and you can get multi-view out of the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. But in the Extremes, you also get Super Source. And if you don't know what Super Source is, that's what I use every time I go to this layout right here. And I could also do a 3-box layout like this if it plays. So, and I have information on my shuttle over there. I just don't have that 3rd box live right now. So again, those are options, but who is your audience? So let me give you 3 tips to help you decide who your live streaming audience is. Tip number 1, it needs to be something you're passionate about, right? I'm not that passionate about trees, so I'm not gonna do a live stream about trees. I might do a live stream someday about being positive, focusing on something that's got like the silver lining, because I really believe that's something that a lot of people need. There's so much negative in our world. But what are you passionate about? I'm passionate about the 1966 Batman. I had it on my shelf forever, even though I've replaced it. I still have some Batman stuff on a shelf back there. But again, I'm also passionate about podcasting, but I didn't really build this channel around podcasting. So I only rarely talk about podcasting here. But last week, YouTube announced, or a little over last week, they announced a new podcasting feature on YouTube. So if you upload a podcast in a video format and it meets their criteria, it can then be posted over on YouTube Music, which gives you another audience. And then they advertise different podcasts. So if you jump in right now, you may be able to build a giant podcast as that part of YouTube grows. And I'm debating, do I jump over there to help build my channel, or is that a different direction, a different channel altogether? So again, what are you passionate about? Number 2, time. How often are you going to stream? What's your time like? You do not want to give yourself a commitment that you can't maintain. It's just like saying, I'm going to lose 50 pounds this year, and then you don't back up from it and decide, how am I going to do that? So if you're going to pick an audience, pick a passion, and then decide how much time you're going to invest. You could probably live stream every other week. I know people that have a once-a-month podcast. There's some people that don't live stream that often on their channels, but they upload videos regularly. And again, doing live streaming isn't going to build a channel super fast. So just FYI, but I love the interaction, so I like to live stream. So the last thing in that, and then we'll jump into the comments before we jump over into the Insta360 Link updates. And that is, the next thing that you need to consider is how you're going to operate your live stream. And I talked about this before. Are you going to have chat pop up on the screen? Do you need to learn how to do that? Are you going to have multiple cameras? Do you need to write on a whiteboard? Do you want to shoot down at your desk? All of those things, kind of designing the set and the idea. Again, I wish I had put more thought into my design. When I moved in here, Shannon and I decided we were going to do a podcast. The podcast mainly was going to be on this table. And so I just wanted to get my desk in here so I could start doing her podcast. So we put lights behind us, and then the 2 giant soft boxes over my head were all for that table. The lights on my desk are for live streaming, Zoom calls, consulting. But again, you have to kind of have an idea of what your audience is going to be, what you're going to talk about, how much space. And I needed to get 2 and maybe even 3 people at this table. So I had some choices that I had to make. And so again, so understanding the location as well as, you know, the time investment, and then really, what are you going to need? I wish I had a shoot down on the camera for that shot right there. I don't have a camera that shoots down on that desk. I've used some clamps before, but all of that is super important if you're going to live stream. So that's live stream basics. You need to understand where you're going to stream. If it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all those places. Are you going to use a webcam, use your phone? You're going to use a DSLR camera. If you are going to use a DSLR camera, how are you going to bring that on the air? Are you going to use a cam link to bring it in? And there's other manufacturers that make a USB, HDMI to USB-C or USB-A port, but they pretty much need to be fast, like a 3.0 USB port on your computer. Remember, everything you plug into your computer takes up CPU power. So I moved to an ATEM Mini Pro because I just didn't want to use my laptop. I wanted to use my laptop for all the other things that I wanted to do live. But you could use OBS and use the camera on your laptop. But if you do that, remember, most web or laptop cameras are 720p, and you can get a much better picture from your phone. So I would say stream from your phone at high def rather than streaming from a older laptop camera that's 720p. If you don't know what 720p is, that just means that instead of that picture having 1080 dots this way, it only has 720p this way. Or is it the other way? I can't remember. No, 1920 this way for 1080p and 720 this way for 720p. So keep that in mind. High def is going to look better on YouTube, and you can even go 4K on YouTube. Facebook, typically you only stream at 720p. So again, where you're going will determine on what tools you need, but you need to have a plan. You need to know who your audience is. You need to know where you're going to stream. You need to deal with lighting and audio, and there's lots of different ways to do lighting. And one of my pictures that I did tonight for my Skycam, let me pop that on the screen here just one last time. One of these locations, I think it's location number 6, is one of my lights. That is a UL150. Even though it's got some transparency, you can see it behind me. That's a disadvantage of not having a key and fill. That's as good as I can get that Skycam. That's one of the things that I really want to change. I really want to bring in a Skycam with fill and key. So I'm probably going to do away with using my webcams for that. But again, I'm trying to get super technical, but that's one of the lights that I purchased 2 of those and 2 of those soft boxes so that I would be able to get really good lighting on my wife's podcast. And I can kind of let you guys see that. So the power supply is on the bottom right. Then you've got no fan in that. It's just got a big heat sink around it. That's why I purchased the UL150 by Godox. And then I have this big, gigantic soft box attached to it. And it's got a light modifier, just like, see if I can see the other light. Where is it? Over here somewhere. Nope, it's hidden behind it. So again, right above my head, you can see I've got a crate, egg crate in it, and that just focuses the light above in an area it doesn't spill up and out as often. So that's just one of the lights. Shot off the air, back to me and the logo. And so again, all of those are decisions you have to make. Those lights hanging in the background, you can see one right there. Those are the Great Video Maker 50 RSs. They're not super expensive. You could buy that kit. And I had to buy a couple clamps, and they're just hanging on a auto pull too. And you can see again that auto pull when I dropped this slide on the air. So that's an auto pull. It just has a plunger, and it pushes against both walls. And again, it's not designed to carry a ton of weight. The older version 1 of the Manfrotto auto pull is more designed to go wall to wall. But I bought this one. I like the modern plunger on it, and I'm just not putting a lot of weight on it. So keep that in mind if you go that route. So, okay. Let's get back in here to the chat, and I will shut up for a minute. I know you guys think that's probably hard to believe, but it's true. Chat on the air. Just go through here. Just back up a little bit. Tony says things are large and in charge. Yeah, David uses his iPhone a lot when he's traveling, and I found that quite interesting, David, coming from a photographer, that you use your iPhone because it's got, I don't know if it's the iPhone. Let us know in the chat what phone you're using, because I know you've had lots of cameras on your channel. So if you like to learn about cameras, especially the Sony genre and other lenses, as well as lights, David's been doing some stuff on lights, lots of cool stuff. It's a really good channel. I wish I was consuming more of it because I really enjoyed it. Good to see you. Kato FM, good to have you as always. Yeah, I have tried out the updates for the HybridX shuttle. I don't have the cloud devices, but I can now go into a web browser and get into my HybridX. What he's talking about is they just did an update for the more expensive HybridX plus the HybridX shuttle. So it's not available for the HyperDeck Shuttle HD Plus that I have in the studio. It's not available for the older HD or the HyperDeck Studio Mini. It's not available for the HyperDeck Studio HD, but it is available for the Shuttle. Why they did that, I don't know. But you can use the new device that they have, the new Cloud Hubs, even hook up an SD. In fact, go over to Here to Record. John Barker just released a video on using the HyperDeck Shuttle for exactly that. So you can record now to the hub that's available now through Blackmagic Design. I think it's called the Cloud Hub. You can also hook up an SD drive to the back of that, and both of those can be recorded directly from the Shuttle. I think you can also play videos back from the Shuttle as well. And I have my Shuttle because it's an important tool for my studio. So I updated today just to answer that question and played around with it. But obviously today's streaming day, and I wasn't going to cover that. But if it came up, I wanted to test it out just in case you guys asked me. So I'm up to speed with that device. So I might buy that cloud device because I like that idea that the Shuttle can record directly to it. That's a pretty cool device to have, especially if I just want to do a remote recording and take my Shuttle, HD Shuttle, as well as that cloud device and a laptop, and then my ATEM Mini Pro, and I could go do a live event and record to it. So white shim over the window helps cut down the light and spread the light out. It'll give you a softer light. And I would recommend that everybody does that if they are going to use a window to help light them up. So especially like people that are doing Zoom all the time, man, a lot of people are putting the window behind them because they don't like the glare. Put the window off to the left or to the right, 30 degrees, and make it a key light, and then put a lamp on the other side to fill your face. So if the key's over here, fill light on this side. And if you get it kind of not quite straight like this, pointing at the ear, but a little bit more pointing between this crevice of your nose, that's really where you want to fill light. And then obviously a hair light shines down in the back to create a silhouette. So do you think it was a miss for Blackmagic Design to not adopt SRT in the new mixers? I really wish they went to SRT. I don't know if there's a licensing issue, but there was a lot of feedback. So my personal opinion, I think the advancements that they did are pretty incredible, especially the remote that's available in the ISO model. Again, you have streaming bridges built in. If you don't know what a streaming bridge is, a streaming bridge lets you be in a remote location, either in your network or out of your network, and then you can hook up a internet cable, go out through the internet into the streaming bridge inside the studio, and from the streaming bridge, send that signal inside your device, mainly ATEM Mini Blackmagic devices. So far, I think there's only one. I only heard one person ever hack it to get it to use it for something else, but I would never try that. So the new television studio has, the ISO model has streaming bridges on every channel. So again, only 8 channel inputs. But again, they can be either a HDMI cable coming in the back, or it could be a streaming device somewhere through the network. So either a new Blackmagic Design camera, the new 4K and 6K, the 4K version 2, G2, I believe, they have streaming built into them. So now you can go out through the internet like a streaming bridge in it, send the signal through the internet, and then drop that into that HD device, the ISO model, or use your streaming bridge in your studio like I have and bring that remote camera in. So that's quite interesting. That was a big hit for me. All the controls, the ability to do color correcting from the knobs on the front. I just think there's a lot of pluses about that device, plus the new microphone converter, so you can do MADI out, but SRT would have been nice. Let me just say that, though I don't use SRT. I should, because I know a lot of you guys do, and I should probably dive into that sometime. So SRT would be awesome. I thought the tree was your friend. I don't know that there's a live stream coming anytime in the future about that tree. Maybe a video for you, Joe. Me and the tree. Maybe I'll write a little ditty and sing it for you guys in the intro. So we'll see. DJ Ware, he could even rename his channel to Leaf's Journey Productions. You guys are funny. I knew that comment was going out on the limb. Wow. You guys are very punny. So LOL. Okay, let's shift gears again. I want to show you guys this. Let me bring it up. I think I want to play around with a hybrid egg tonight. So let's do this. Okay, so Insta360 made some updates. There is a software update and there is a update to the firmware. And again, if we don't know, if you're just tuning in and you don't know what an Insta360 Link Camera is, it's what I use for my Skycam. So I can bring it on the air right now just for this segment in case I decide to put chapter markers in here. So if I put this on the air, that's my Skycam, and this is the Insta360 Link. And I love it because I can program these different locations, 6 altogether. It has a 4K sensor. The problem with the 4K sensor, guys, was it would not let you do like far out zoom. If you had it set to 1920 by 1080, so high def, then you could zoom way in close. But for some reason, when you switched over to 4K, because you just want a better picture when you zoom in, you couldn't go in 4 times zoom for whatever reason. I don't know. They have now fixed that. But I did want to show this. So back to slideshow and me and just drop it in for this segment so everybody knows that this camera here in the box at the bottom and on the top left right there is the Insta360 Link. And I have 2 of them here in the studio, though I don't have enough PC or computer left to run them both at the same time when I'm live. I will sometimes use them in a consult because I'm not streaming. I'm not doing all the other things that I have to do in my studio to burn up all of my USB-C power. But again, that's the Link, and there has been a firmware update. And again, let's just go through here and scroll through this. I'm going to change the camera behind me. Let's see. I want to go to camera 4. So, and I'm going to be reading it over here. I can see it better. So the updates. Now this is the firmware. So you have a new position recovery. What does that mean? So if you turn it off, shut your computer down, you come in the back the next day. If you turn this little icon off, and we're going to go over and look at the software here in a minute, then you can then demo that. So you can show that. In fact, let me, I can't tonight. Sorry. I won't be able to bring it open. I don't have the ability to share that computer. But so basically there's just a checkbox that lets you turn that on. And then when the camera fires up, it's going to find the people in the room and it's going to choose that best position so that you can then go live or go stream or go do Zoom, which is great. I love it that it'll find your face and then focus on your face automatically. This new smart adjustment function has been added. So a new position recovery function. So the last position can be set so it will recover. So if this is what you normally have, the camera on you, that can be recovered, but it also can just smart find you, which is really cool because let's say you go to a location, you put the camera on your laptop and you just want to turn it on and find you right there immediately. It will find you if you turn that feature on. And then 1080 1920 is now supported. Again, that's a portrait mode because you can also do portrait streaming. And so 1080 by 1920 was not supported. Now it is, and then some routine bug fixes. And then recently they added the 4K AMJPEG format is now supported. That's for recording when you're recording. And then Insta360 Link Controller, desktop controlling software. Insta360 Link Controller is a desktop software. It's available for Windows, Mac, and it has a update. So here's the Windows update. You can switch with smart adjustment functions has been added. This enables features in the menu that allow the camera to boot up and look for faces. Again, this was also added not only in the firmware update in the camera. Remember, firmware usually typically goes in the device, and then the software update affects the software you control the device. So now there is a place that you can check that on. 4K support for zooming. That's the thing I was super excited about. And then some bug fixes. And then earlier, global hotkey support. That meant that I can use my keyboard to control the device, which I think is really cool. So I don't have to have 6 locations set. I could just use the keyboard, which I don't really do. Occasionally I'll do that for the fun of it. Single tap on touch key to quickly toggle AI tracking. That's on the front of the camera. So this Insta360 Link is a pretty smart camera. So you can bring it into OBS and stream from there, or you could bring it into OBS and then bring that in to your live stream software. But the best way to use these webcams, in my opinion, are to stream from something like OBS or other software that is computer based. So that's the updates for routine bug fixtures, the single tap to go into AI tracking. So again, it has intelligent tracking available in it. It has a whiteboard mode. You have to put 4 little L corner brackets on the whiteboard, but you can use hand gestures with it. It is a great little camera. That's why I wanted to highlight it tonight. So why would you buy a Insta360 Link? I think it's mainly because the mobility of it. It's got a gimbal. You can use it to pan around the room. Again, you have the ability to use hand signs. It has a whiteboard mode. It's a 4K sensor, so it gives you better crisp video when it broadcasts 1080p because it's downscaling 4K. And when you zoom in now with a 4K feature, you're zooming in and you still have 1080p quality when you're zooming in. So some really cool things about that device that I think were worth talking about. So that's it. That's all I really wanted to cover on the Insta360 Link, is that there is a firmware update, and I have updated both of my cameras to the new firmware and was playing around with both cameras in the studio earlier today. But again, it's a live streaming day and I got to get to business. So, okay. Been a lot of fun. For the next 15 minutes, I want to talk about something very dear to my heart, and that's Blackmagic Design ATEM Minis and the basic settings. But let's just look in the chat in case you guys have something profound you want to add, and get rid of my sky cam. Got rid of the chat instead of sky cam and put chat on the air here. I'll laugh out loud. Let's see. DJ's got to run. It's good to see you tonight. Yeah, I wish they had 12 sources. I believe that because they're calling it the HC8, we're going to see an HC8 12 or 16. My guess is they would just go with more inputs. I don't know if that's 10 or 12. Maybe they'll come out with a 10. Maybe they'll come out with a 12. Maybe they'll come out with a 16. But I do believe they are going to come out with more of those. So let's dive in here to the main thing I really wanted to get to tonight. So let's go back to multi-view over my shoulder, and let's go. Let's see, which do we want to use here? How about this 3 box here? Let me change a couple things here. Fire back up my overhead camera. Yeah, this will work. So okay, so let me go in here now. I'm just trying to make sure. So being I'm streaming, we're going to go into my ATEM Extreme ISO number 2. So basic settings for a live stream using an ATEM. Now you could use this ATEM right here. This is the ATEM Mini Pro we were talking about earlier. I have the deck link cover to it. But again, I have some door stops on the bottom. They're just Velcroed on. that tips it up so I can see it better. And I'm using these on both of my traditional HyperDecks as well as both of my ATEM Extreme ISOs. So that's an Extreme ISO, and that's number one. That's the one I use as my main input. And as you look up here, this is ATEM Extreme ISO number 2. But I want to cover some basics really quick. So one of the first things you have to do is make some decisions. And so if you go down to the bottom left, there's this little settings wheel. And right here you have general settings, you have audio settings, multi-view, labels, HyperDecks if you have a HyperDeck, and then remote control if you're going to be controlling any Blackmagic design cameras. So I just want to cover some basic settings here because this is 101 getting started, ATEMs of any size. You need to decide what resolution you're going to stream. So I'm streaming at 1080p from my other ATEM, but you can see all the choices you have here. So I'm using 1080p 29.97, but you can see all the choices all the way up to 1080p 60. No, it does not record, or any of the ATEM minis, including the new Television Studio HD8 ISO or the regular one. They do not stream at 4K. You'd have to buy a different device from Blackmagic Design to stream 4K, but you could stream 4K from a 4K camera using a cam link from Elgato. They're about $130, $140 usually online, depending on where you live, and that'll plug right into your laptop, and you could be streaming 4K. If your DSLR has a 4K output, you could bring that into your laptop and stream it, Mac or PC, and that would be great. So again, here's your choices. I'm streaming 29.97, so I have both of these set. So that's important. Camera control settings down here. We're not going to talk about that because I'm not using any Blackmagic cameras. Then under audio settings, under general, you need to kind of decide how you want the transitions to work with video settings, as well as are you doing a line input. Like you can see right here, I have line and microphone set. Line is a line level input, and that's coming from my Rodecaster Pro, and that's a line level signal. It's the same thing if you were taking a console and running it out right and left into amplifier, or if you're going to powered speakers, those are line level signals going. So Blackmagic Design gives you 3 choices. You can do microphone plug-in level. You can have, and it's got a little bit of power. I think it's like 5 volts. And then you have line level and regular microphone with no power coming in. So 3 choices, and that should cut out any weird humming that you would get. So you need to set up your audio. And then if you have an extreme ISO, the new SDI models that are extreme, or the new HD8 model, then you need to set up your multi-view. And you can see I have an option for 16 windows. And if I don't want to have 16 windows, I can just go up here and I can choose to go to one big window in a corner. And I could go to one big window up here on the right. So these are important settings, and you can choose what in the multi-view for the extremes all the way up. You can choose a lot of different inputs and how many boxes you want on the screen. It's a little bit different when you're in the ATEM Mini Pro, the ATEM Mini, or the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, or the ATEM Mini Pro ISO SDI models. So that multi-view is pretty well set, but you can choose what inputs go to the boxes. So then labels lets you go through and relabel your labels. So when you're choosing the different inputs in your keys or your DVE, or you're assigning them an output to your HyperDeck, you need to know what input is what. So you can leave them the default names, or you can change those. So let's say you have a Sony ZV1 or ZV10, E10, you could name it that. Not all the letters fit. You may have to abbreviate that, but that just may help you realize what camera is where if you start doing lots of cameras. Then HyperDecks are right here. To get a HyperDeck communicating, you need to have the IP address. You need to know what input it's going to play into. So I have this set up for input 1. This is my HyperDeck Shuttle HD Plus. And so you only have to let it know the video input. It automatically will select the next input as the key if you have a HyperDeck that has fill and key. So same with the next one. This is my mini or my shuttle, and it's going in input 6, and that's actually in my second extreme. So the software can see my HyperDecks because they're on the network. So I can control my HyperDecks from either one of the control softwares for either one of my ATEM. So you could run an ATEM in one room and another ATEM in another room, and you could open up that software and change inputs. And how do you do that? You just go up here to the file menu and you go up here under connections, and then you can choose, if it's on your network, you can choose it. So now there are some ATEM mini setups that you have to do. So let me click on this right down here under ATEM setup. That opens up other software. Let's see if it'll open up, and here it is. So it sees both of my Extreme ISO 1 and Extreme ISO 2, and then inside that, there are basic settings as well. So let's go, we'll play around only with my ISO 2. So in here, I can put the Ethernet port, I can rename it if I wanted to, I can use program or cut bus, and I have all of these settings in here. I can drop the chroma keyer with transitions, and that's if you're going to do chroma keying. Again, that's for people that are in a studio, might be doing a cast where they have a fake background behind them. So you can actually have it transition or drop that every time you go away from that camera, so the chroma key won't be behind the other camera. So you can have that on or off. Again, you can do picture in picture, drop with transition, or stay on. You have all of these settings. You can go mobile, so I can hook up a USB-C to the back of the ATEM Mini if it can stream, and then to my mobile device, and then I can actually stream using the internet on my mobile device, and that's something that they added shortly after I think the ATEM Extreme ISO or ATEM Mini Pro ISO came out. So again, you can see what your firmware is. There's documentation here that you can read, but these are basic decisions you have to make. And the biggest one, here's the software version. The biggest one, I think, is that one we just talked about. Let me close this. And that is if you are going to use cut bus or program preview. So what does that mean? That means that up here is program and down here is preview. And if you're going to set up cut bus, then when I push these buttons on the front of my ATEM, let me flip this up more like a overhead microphone here, out of the way. So if I was to push one of these buttons, if I had it set for cut bus, it would automatically cut. Right now it's going to go from that input to the next input. And right now I am live on my super source. So you're seeing super source. And if I cut back, it's going to cut to camera 2. But as you can see on the software over here on my side, you have a program row and a preview row. And if you bought the new HD television studio, you're going to have a program row. And when you push that button, you can choose the camera to get ready to go live. It will come up on your preview. And then on the bottom, you're going to have a row as well, like you do right here on the software, and actually reversed. So everything on the top row is live, and everything on the bottom row is preview. So program on the top, those are live cameras, that's why they're red, and then preview on the bottom. And this coincides with some of the cameras that Blackmagic Design have that have the tally lights. If you're communicating back and forth to the cameras, then the tally light will be either green or red. So your camera operator will know if they're live. In fact, I'm getting trained this coming Sunday at my church. I'm going to be running their console, their 8K streaming, even though they stream 1080p on Easter Sunday. So for some reason, they felt like I would be a good replacement for their normal team. So I'm going to be watching and observing on this Sunday, 2 services, and then the next Sunday, 2 services, have a week off, and then I'm running the crew. So I'll run the 7:30 in the morning get together. They have a remote control camera that pans back and forth that they can cut to, and then they have 5, 6 other inputs that go into their event. So I will be calling the show. So understanding how the front of these devices only have one row of buttons, so you either have to choose between cutting from each button immediately or preview program. So as I cut, it transitions. But if I was to cut from my other extreme, it's set to cut bus. And if I hit a button, it immediately goes live on the air. So preview program means that you can preview it in your preview display in your multi-view and then go live. And so you don't want to make a mistake. So most people that are producing a show like this live are going to go preview on the bottom, right? The green, and then transition to live. So again, you guys are actually looking at my other extreme ISO control software, and it's set to cut bus. So if I was to push a button right now and none of those buttons are live, it's going to immediately cut to camera 2. And you can see, just cuts. So I don't have to come over here and hit the auto transition, right? All I have to do is hit one of these buttons. You can also just cut once you've chosen which camera you want to be. See, none of these buttons are green because I have it set for cut bus, and it's really only in the software you're seeing it. Over here, none of the buttons are green. So let me tether real quick. And we're almost running out of time, but let me get through this portion. See if I can reassign. I will reassign output to here real quick. Let's see, I think that's output 1. I think I'm tethered. Nope. For some reason, it did not tether. Let's try it again. That's output 1. Output 2. Output 1. Output 2. Trying to tether one more time here. Here we go. Finally, here we go. So this is cut bus. So I can only choose the camera input. And again, I'm not going live. It's just going to change. Sorry, it's kind of yellow, but they're really red. The white balance is off. So they're just going to cut. But over here, I have program preview or preview program. And I've got to go from the live camera to the preview camera. And I have to hit the auto transition or the cut bus. If I hit cut, it will make the cut. And see, now they're reversed. But over here, I have to choose a camera to make it live. And that is the difference between over here, I have to push a button to make it live because that's the only way to do it. Where over here, I go from green to live. So if I hit this, it's going to disappear, but you're going to know because that changes on the screen back to this camera and then back again. So that's the difference between program preview, and that's an important setting that you have to really deal with if you're going to use it. So let's go back here to my laptop input. Let's see, output 1. Output 1, camera 3. my shuttle HD. Okay, so put that away, turn that off, untether it, because all it does is burn up my batteries on my phone. So again, that is an important setting. So cut or preview bus in the basic settings. So now let's look at the software real quickly and just talk about this in a minute. You can control it from the front of your device, and you have more buttons available on the Extreme ISO or the Extreme models than you do on the ATEM Mini models. And you actually have a matrix right here. You can also switch a lot of the keys up here, what you want to go to those different keys, all up in this area. You can cut to black, all of that up here. So you can assign color generators, and this is not available on the ATEM Minis, but they are available in the Extreme and ISOs. And then you have lots of features on the new Television Studio HDs, a whole console that runs it, and then you can actually add extra audio channels. You only have 2 audio inputs available for mics in an ATEM Mini or ATEM Mini Pro, Extreme ISO, the SD models, or the HDMI models. But we get to the big new console television studios, you have lots of channels. So those are important decisions. And then back in here again, remote controls would be right here. So those are the basic settings that you need to be dealing with. And then now let's just wrap up tonight by giving you a basic overview of the control software. I'm going to break it up into 4 sections. Section number 1 is everything up here. Section number 2 is everything down below, all the way from the left of this knob. Section number 3 is these downstream keys. And section number 4 is everything that's over here in this menu. And then in reality, we'll also include the lower menu. The lower menu gives the ability to change from switcher view, which you see on the screen. This is my media pool. And if you have the ATEM Mini or ATEM Mini Pro, Pro ISO, you're only going to have 1 player. It means you have all of the still images over here that you want to make live, but only 1 player. If you have an Extreme ISO or even the new HD8, you're going to have 2 media players. And the HD8 actually has short frames of video as well. So 200 frames available at 1080p 60 and 400 frames of video available at 1080p 30 frames per second. But for an ATEM Mini Extreme, you're going to have 1 media player or 2 and no ability to play videos or stingers. That's only available when you get to the higher end devices, and we're not going to talk about those tonight. So again, next to that is audio. So you have all of your audio inputs for your input. So I have 8. If you have an ATEM Mini, you're going to have 4, and then 2 mic inputs, and then your main output. This is the audio page. So you turn them on and off on the bottom, and you can actually have them follow video. So let's say you want to cut to a camera, you have a microphone on it, and you only want that microphone on. When you cut to that camera, you would go down on the bottom and you would turn it in audio follow video. So every time you cut to that camera, the audio follows that. When you cut away from that camera, the audio is off. If you just want to turn the microphone on that camera on all the time, you turn it on. If you want to just hear the audio with your headphones, now you don't have a headphone output on an ATEM Mini, Mini Pro ISO, but you do have headphone outputs available on the Extreme ISO, the SDI, Extreme models, as well as the new Television Studio HD. Even though it's a different kind of headset, you do have the ability to audio these or listen to these. So each one of these little headphones on the bottom is so you can solo that particular channel. So if you want to make sure that you have that microphone turned off in the camera before you go live, you can either bring the volume all the way down or turn this off or put your headphones on and listen to it. Your main headphone control is all the way on the right. And you can see right now in my Extreme ISO, I have channel 1 on, even though I'm not feeding any audio in there. That's so I could then use that if my stream failed, I could cut over to it, which is a whole nother video. So and that's the master channel. If we were in my regular software, let's go over there real quick. Let's connect to my regular ATEM. You can see we have live audio playing right now, and I'm bringing all my audio in through channel 1, And then up on top is the audio input. That's the main gain. As that mic comes into the ATEM, that's your original gain. And then below that, you have how much gain you're using, minus or plus. Below that, you have frame delay, and that lets you sync up your lips with the video and the audio. I have 3 frames of delay set. And there you can see, you can go up to 8 frames of delay. Below that, you have control of an EQ. You can turn that on and off up here on the top. And we're not going to get into EQing tonight. And below that, you have 4 plugins. You have a expander, a gate, and a compressor, and a limiter, all available right here to turn them on. And you have all the different knobs enabled or unenabled, depending on what knobs apply. And you can turn all those on right now. I only have the gate on. So you have sliders right here to bring all that audio up or down when you're live. You can also have, like, I have my Stream Decks coming in. I have it set to audio follow video. So when I play a video, that audio comes on if I cut to that camera. And again, when you get over here, you can just turn the mic on or off. You can solo it right here by going to the solo button. And this is my live page. So then you have camera controls. And if you have any Blackmagic cameras and you're hooked up, you would be able to control the cameras, the white balance, the color, all of that from here. You'd be able to change the gamma, the gain, the lift. You'd also be able to do auto focusing and all that right here. So let's go back over to my other extreme. So that's a look at the bottom menu. And back in the switcher, everything here in the first area are live inputs. So you have camera inputs. If you have them plugged into the HDMI cables, they're going to be live if you click on this, and these go live. This, I can go black right now. If I push this black button right here, then I would go black if I was hitting that one on my extreme. Then you have keys on the air. You have 4 upstream keys if you have an ATEM Extreme ISO, as well as the new HD8. And if you have a ATEM Mini Pro, you only have 1 upstream key. And then below that, you have the background on, because we have a background layer right there. You can see it. But next to that, you have the key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4, and that lets it follow a certain input. So if I turn this on, that's going to follow this input that's live. So if I transition away from it, this key is going to go with it. If I turn that off and just turn it on, then that key is going to be on all the time. It doesn't matter what I cut to. And the keys lay on top of each other, 1, 2, 3, 4, right here. So key 1, if I turn it on, is going to be the first layer on top of the video layer. This is going to be the next layer. So if I have them both on, they'll stack on top of each other all the way to number 4. And then when you get over to the other side, then you're going to be using downstream keys, and they're on the other side. They're downstream of the transition bar. Now, the lower section is preview. Everything you click on down here, if you have your multi-view up, is going to be in the preview screen. So right now, if I had multi-view on for my Extreme ISO number 2, everything I click on this bottom row is going to be in the preview screen. So I can decide if I want to cut to that camera. This is really important. If you're telling someone on your microphone, right? You're telling them, hey, I want you to get a close-up shot of the drum, snare drum, and the hi-hat. I can look up there and see when they have the shot I'm waiting for, and then I can go live with that shot. So having a preview and a program view is super important. So everything on the bottom is preview in this section right here, and everything on the top is program. And then you can put your media player 1 and 2 live. You can put Super Source live if you have it in an Extreme ISO or a Television Studio HD8. You can go black, and then you have 2 colors here that you can make live as well. So if I click down here, I would be able to preview those colors, and you can set those colors over here in area number 4. And we're not going to talk about area number 4 tonight. That will be for another video altogether. So program, everything up here I click on is live, including turning these keys on the air. And up here you have keys, but down here you have different types of transitions. So everything here is, I'm able to preview including Super Source, Media Player 1, Media Player 2, Color 1, Color 2, Black, which would just be black. And everything here are my inputs, my 8 inputs that I can preview. And then here is the different type transitions. If I want to go mix or dip or go wipe or go DVE, I can do that. So let's demo those real quick. So I'm going to go connections, go back here to my other extreme ISO. Let's shift mix. We're going to go from Super Source to camera 2. And I have my key on the air, which is my logo. We're going to go ahead and turn this on so it stays, the logo stays on, right? Or on just this view. So watch, it's going to go away, the logo, because I've turned on the key. And now we're going to do a mix transition. It just mixed between the two. So I'm going to cut back. Now let's change it to dip. We have dip on now. Let's make the transition. Again, our logo's going off with this view I'm on right now. I'm going to go auto transition. Now that's a dip. It went through a color. It went through the black color generator. So it's going to go from this view to the black color generator to the other view. And that's called the dip. Then you have wipe. Here is a wipe. And you have all kinds of different wipes you can use, but let's wipe myself. That's a wipe. And I can change what type of wipe I'm using. And then you have a DVE, which gives you the ability to do different things really cool across the screen if you have them loaded in your media player. But it just goes across the screen like that. And then if you set that dip up or that dip up correctly, then there'll just be a tiny bar covering that transition going across the screen. Right now, it's using this whole image. Let me transition back. Sorry. Let me transition back. It's using this whole image right here. I could go across the screen with this as well. It's going to look crazy for a minute, but just bear with me because that's in the background. I'll do it again and see how it just took that picture across the screen. So I just do not have the right thing loaded to be able to just do a small little bar going across the screen. So mix, dip, wipe, and DVE. And then below here, you can preview transitions. We'll talk about that at a later time. But then you can do a straight cut. This is a hard cut with no transition. Cut back. So I can still make hard cuts, but I still have the ability on this particular control surface to be able to make nice, smooth auto transitions. Right now, you can see it's set to DVE. I'll go back to mix, and it makes these nice, smooth transitions. Somehow fade to black got on. I do not know how that got on, but we're going to go from Super Source right here to camera 2. And again, something's whacked out and it is switching between fade to black. So I got something on that I should not have turned on. Hopefully that won't mess up my whole stream. So again, that's an overview of the control software, the basic settings, and that's really all we're going to cover tonight on basics. So that's true with the ATEM Mini. You got to go in and choose if you're going to have a mic input or a line input. You got to make sure that you have all of those things set up. And then if you do own a hyperdeck, you got to go in and set up those hyperdecks inside the software again. And again, I'm going to do a video series on here pretty soon, basics of the ATEM Mini, ATEM Mini Extreme ISO. So I hope that maybe gave you a little bit better understanding of some of those basic settings and why you would want to switch between cut bus or program preview bus and how that really applies on the front of your ATEM. Because again, the ATEMs only have one row of buttons, where the new HD8 Television Studio has 2 rows, just like the control software. And again, the control software really gives you total control. And I use it a lot when I'm live because I have the ability to see what's on the air, what's not on the air, because I can tell you what key's on. If I want my logo off, I can turn it off. If I want it to stay on all the time, when I change cameras like this, let's see, do I dare change cameras? No, I'm going to go like that and use my macro because I know it's not going to go to fade to black. So that's pretty much it. Let's get some comments here before we leave. So let's go in here and we'll wrap this up. So chat's on the air. Let's see if you guys had anything to say. Maybe you all have left already. Let's see. I want to be in. Yeah. Okay. So. Still live. So again, just checking. Do you guys have any questions or any final comments before we wrap this up? It's good to have you joining us. Doug Forrest from Forrest Online. We just basically covered a lot of things tonight. Thank you for joining me. If you guys have not hit the like button, please do. If you're watching this in the background and you haven't subscribed, I really appreciate if you would subscribe to the channel. It does help me grow the channel. I also appreciate if we use the links that I'll have in this video later tonight. You'll have a link there to my Amazon associate account for the Insta360 Link. You pay the same, but I get a little help on the channel. And also I have I have Super Chat enabled. And if we do get a Super Chat, we are going to have some fireworks go on the screen. So here's a demo of the fireworks. There hasn't been any Super Chats that I have seen tonight. And if I missed any, then I'm really in trouble. But I haven't seen any Super Chats tonight. So cool. So anyway, that will play anytime there is a Super Chat. Again, that's available in some parts of the world, but not everywhere. So cool. You're welcome. Thank you for watching tonight's live stream. I appreciate that, Hank. And I do want to do a lot of videos on the tools. It's very consumable. People want to learn more about the ATEM Mini Pro. When I do my series, I will have my ATEM Mini Pro with a camera hook up to it and another PC. So I'll be able to demo how it works differently as well as the Extreme. So I'll be able to cover an ATEM Mini Pro and an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, so people will really be able to understand the different looks that you get in the control software, because I'll be able to bring those up on the screen. I do have a basic ATEM Mini series here already, so I won't be recovering all those things. I'll just be showing the media player when I need to, that it only has one to make live, where the Extremes have two. So that will be in that series, and I'm hoping to start shooting that here in the studio really soon. So thank you, Tony, for the shout out about the fireworks effects. Again, I just want to pop that up anytime I do have a Super Chat. It was broken. I fixed it today. So I did have lots of Super Chats a couple weeks ago. That was really cool. So I didn't have that enabled, so I feel bad. So I just wanted everybody to see the Super Chat fireworks tonight, especially those of you that gave me a Super Chat a couple weeks ago. I celebrate you, and we fire up the fireworks. So that's it for me. My tree's going to say goodnight. I'm going to say goodnight. I do have some plans to do a post show, but it will be more around basic live streaming. And so I'll tell you guys more about that in the weeks to come. And I may even be starting a podcast here from the studio. We will see if I decide to do that, just to test this new feature in YouTube. So again, I wanted to quit with a slideshow. Let me move some things around here just so I'm ready to say goodnight here. I think I just shut down my stream over there. So, see, do I have it enabled over here? Let me do something here real quick. I apologize. I think I did. I just shut down the link I had open to close down my stream. So let me get back in here. There we go. So I wanted to put up one more slide here just to wrap this up tonight. And let's see, do I still have it? Did I lose it? Oh, there it is. I love this slide. I could crop this, but years ago I went to Universal. I believe this is in Florida, and they had this T-Rex coming out. And I just love moments like this. What I want to say tonight before we go is, when I said when I'm walking with my phone, I'm looking for moments just to capture a really cool picture. This is absolutely one of my favorite all-time pictures. My wife took this picture of me. I'm standing in front of this display with the T-Rex coming out, and I just think it's one of the coolest pictures I have in my library. And so when you're out about, find that cool shot, if you email those to me, so if you don't know how to contact me, the link is below in the description. If you already have my email, if it's okay for me to share it live, if you have a really cool picture, like I put up here in my still image, right? So I have tonight's still image where I have me and the tree on the bottom left. If you have a really cool picture like that, you know, we take pictures all the time. Some of them are for products, you know, we capture those mainly for our channels, but these pictures, in my opinion, really speak well. So if you find a funny picture or something that's appropriate for me to share online that made you smile, made you laugh, that brought you some joy, then I would really, really, really love to see those pictures, and I hope you will share those. And then I'll pick a favorite, and who knows, we may even fire off some fireworks so we can overuse this macro in the live stream. So again, I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. Thank you so much for joining me, even those of you that joined me late. Those of you that are watching it delayed, please consider subscribing to the channel because I'd love to have you join the conversation. I do have another video coming out on the Stream Deck Plus, so make sure you ring the bell, hit the thumbs up tonight on the video. That would help me. And if you want to know when the next video is released, ring the bell. You never know. It might be a podcast. It might be a new video on my Stream Deck Plus. It might be a basic series on the ATEM Extremes and the ATEM Minis, and who knows. But I am Keith. This is Life Journey Production Studios. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for tolerating all of these conversations tonight. I hope that you live better going forward. Maybe it's just one thing that you do differently. I encourage you to go, if you have a Disney Plus account, watch that Chris Hemsworth Thor series. It's pretty fascinating, and 6 episodes. And if you have a question or an idea for a live stream, please let me know. Use the link below if you'd like to contact me to get a free consult, maybe to help you decide what you need for your live stream. I do a free consult. If you want to get some consulting for live streaming tech, then you can do that as well. Just sign up by using my web link in the description below. Again, I can't wait to see you guys in the next video, and that's it for me. Good night, farewell, and live a good life. Peace.